Dobar dan svima i dobrodošli. Pošto imamo trojicu panelista koji su iz inostranstva, mi smo se dogovorili da ovaj panel bude na engleskom jeziku zbog lakše interakcije, razgovora i konverzacije. Tako, now I'll switch to English. So, welcome again to our very gender-balanced panel. I'll do the balancing. So, I would like to introduce the panelists first. First of all, we have Mr. Ingo Bleier, who's the group executive board member of Erste Bank. Then we have Bartosz Ciałkowski, who's the president of MasterCard Southeast Europe. I'll start with a guest from abroad. Then we have Piotr Jelensky, who's the CEO of Asseco Group, which operates in more than 20 countries. Then we have the two of my esteemed colleagues, which you know, Petar Jovanović and Darko Popović, and last but not least, Milan Janjic from Intelia, which is a member of Saga Group. So we have a combination of banking, payments, and IT. So we're starting off with Ingo. Ingo is having an introduction and introductory presentation. Please, Ingo.
Yes. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for my voice, I got a little cold. It's not that I had a party with my fellow Erste Bank colleagues yesterday. They had one, but I didn't, yeah, so I'm just a little bit cloaked here. Well, anyway, when we speak about transformation in the banking sector, we at Erste connected a lot with digitalization. If I say we at Erste, whom do I mean? We are a European banking group, active now in 12 Central Eastern European markets, with a very strong organic and also inorganic growth ambition, very strong credit ratings and also ESG ratings. I will keep the Erste overview here because I promised here to my dear moderator to be short with 5 minutes given where we are in time. So that was all about marketing for Erste. Now, the transformation in the banking industry, when it comes to digitalization, requires quite a cultural shift. We all say, typically, we are open to technology, we want to work with new technology, but deep inside, there is in all of us a lot of skepticism. But with what is going on out there, I think we have to cope much better with technology. And my view is this: I believe whilst banks for centuries have been defined in their success, whether they did good or bad lending decision, this changes now, and those banks that will master technology will succeed, and those that don't will not. Obviously, there is political risk and regulatory risk on top of it, but I think our loan business now is so heavily regulated, you can still get it wrong on the lending front, but it has become increasingly hard, I tell you, to sink a bank with bad lending decisions. But if we don't cope with technology throughout our organization, we will not get to the cost efficiency that we will need in order to really service a very large crowd of retail and corporate customers. So that cultural change means you really have to take all your staff on board. That means you really have to do a lot of training and education, and you need to take away the fear that the machine will decide everything, although the machine will decide a lot going forward. Now, we are centering our activities when it comes to technology a lot on the client front end. And I give you this as an example because banks have traditionally tried to bring their processes online. We have the clear view that what is necessary is to think from the client perspectives and to rethink how processes in banks should look like so that the client satisfaction increases. We call that the platform economy. And we have devised a front end called George that is active already now in 6 countries with more than 10 million clients. And we have taken the decision to bring this service to Serbia as well and to roll out further. I was being switched off, but I think I can continue now. All right? So thinking from the client side when devising technology will be key for success. Now, we will populate that platform with a lot of services, and all of us here on the banking side will have to make becoming a client more convenient. Whoever here in the audience is a corporate client will know the struggles that exist when you onboard with a bank. We will try to make that as simple as possible with an end-to-end online process. What is then the next level that banks will have to master is lending online. It is very clear that the engines will be able, in particular with new AI technology, to digest way more data than the human brain and to take decisions much faster and with much less bias than we do based on our intuition or the experience we may have. Now, this will work only in the standardized small ticket business for the time being, but I think this is the biggest game changer we will see in corporate banking over the next decades, actually. Now, as the topic also is AI today, what are we doing with first use cases? We ask clients. In the first instance, what we're focusing on is what I call financial health advisory. It has to do a lot with raising financial literacy with clients. You will find by speaking to a lot of your friends, neighbors, relatives, that knowledge on financial matters is very low. And we are of the firm belief that there will be a lot of individual chatbots that banks, not only us, all the banks, will deploy in order to explain simple things. And you can explain simultaneously to way more people than with individual advisors. That does not mean that the individual advisor will go away with a very deep belief in human banking, but it is clear that for the very simple questions, chatbots will solve a lot. The next use case that we're looking at now, and we worked this out on a workshop with a global consulting company and a number of clients, was subsidy programs. Corporate clients are telling us it's so complicated to look through where I can get, which funding, which additional support from the EU, from the government, from regional authorities for individual projects. All those things can be put into a data mart, machine can be trained on it, and chatbots can be developed. So that's a very realistic use case for client benefits. And then, what I call the king-size discipline will be, going back to my earlier point, in taking engines deciding more and more credit. Now, there is a very clear will of the regulator, and some of you may have familiarized yourself already with the new AI Act coming out of the European Commission, which wants to avoid an unfair bias. And the trick with a lot of those AI engines is that they are a sort of black box, you cannot look inside. But in reality, what we are facing is the ability of digesting a lot of data, of historic credit data, of a lot of additional factors that will help in training the credit decision engines. So that's probably the biggest use case we're looking at the moment. So those would be my introductory words. I hope I kept my 5 minutes. Back over to you. Thank you very much.
Aleksandar Vlahovic is thanking you for the 5 minutes.
Okay. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you for the introduction, and thank you for mentioning AI. Our discussion today is going to be, let's say, based and tilted towards AI because it is something that is very popular now in the recent couple of years. I've recently read a McKinsey study which said that generative AI can add 2.6 to 4.4 trillion dollars, which is around 3 to 4% of global GDP over the next coming years. The part that the banking industry is going to benefit is between 200 and 340 billion per year, which will improve the operating profits by 9 to 15%. This is staggering data and staggering amounts of money. So we hope that works. So coming to the first question, and my first question is to Piotr and Bartek. It's how can AI can be used from a perspective of Asseco, which is a tech company, and MasterCard, which is a leading global payments company, to transform the financial industry. So gentlemen.
Okay, I'll try. So I see we are trying to treat AI as a definitive tech of the today. Is it so definitive? Is it so ultimate? There is a lot of hype, of course. Maybe it's because we had 2 industrial revolutions over the last 30, 40 years, but I'm not sure if this one is defined as the 5th one. But of course, it's probably the closest to human being, to the brain, to all of these aspects which are not so easy to comprehend. But who can tell from the audience when the first AI discussion happened in the world, or when the AI started? Okay, I'll help you. It was British mathematician Alan Turing who defined a Turing test in 1956. It is actually the test which is comparing a machine to human being. And it was very hard to pass it at the beginning. It's mostly about the human language and ability to speak. Then AI was evolving. I think the good time for AI was 1990 with machine learning, and then beginning of 21st century where we started talking about big data. Now you are talking about George, and this is definitely a fascinating development. When the mobile phone was invented, 1973, Motorola, that was the first company who started with mobile. Then I think Nokia, who everybody knows, 1987, first device, and iPhone. Some of you, I guess, have it 2007. And this is a real transformation. Is there anybody who doesn't have a mobile phone here? I see nobody. So at least we have a mobile phone. And in banking, like George and many other applications, you can see stats from a couple of percent to sometimes even 100% of interaction with the bank only through mobile. So this is really happening now, even though mobile phone was invented much later than AI. And now, referring to your question about MasterCard, so this is something we are dealing with long. Because while we are sitting here and talking about AI, there is around 20 million of transactions on the MasterCard network happening. Some of them are fraudulent. And to help our partners, we are having tools which are working in the background. Transactions are usually happening in milliseconds or seconds, definitely are very fast. So quantity and time, it can only be tackled by AI. So there are models which are stopping fraudulent transactions and notifying our client to take an ultimate decision whether this transaction should go through or not. I'll just give you one stat. Over the last 12 months, 20 billion of monetary value, meaning dollars, was stopped as the fraudulent transactions by AI, working in the background in MasterCard.
Well, I would refer to what Bartek said a bit on history. You know, the experience I still remember is 2000 and 2001 internet revolution. I mean, internet was present much earlier, but then everybody got very hype about it, and they said it's going to change the world. And there was a lot of bankruptcies, flops, a peak on the stock exchange, a crash later following, a lot of startups going down, and so on. We still have internet, and you know it's growing amazingly, but there is not a date or breakthrough point that makes a new invention, technology so spectacular. It's a continuous process of using it. Still sticking to internet, because before we move to AI, look at the kids or our learning capacity. The knowledge availability around us is amazing. Are we smarter if you compare to people 20 or 30 years ago? We aren't. Actually, the studies show it's a bit opposite. So the tooling available around us doesn't make us better. And I think the same will be with AI, yes? I don't expect with AI, I think it's just another tool we get, yes? And if we use it smartly, it will be well used. But today even we see with customers, and I promise not to talk about Asseco or Acer or anything like this, so just general experiences that sometimes there is too much expectations on the end effect and too little discussion on what we want to achieve or what small steps to improve, and too little discussion how to improve these things using whatever technology or just straight-through processing or some improvements, yes? You cannot rely on one tool. AI will be complementary to just common sense and thinking. And last but not least, you know, this is not part of the panel, but for the pessimists, you know, some people, when I discuss, they say this is the end of the world. I mean, it will take over, yes? I always have this observation that if you look at AI, or if you look at digitalization overall, it manages to grasp just visual and voice. It doesn't manage any other senses. So basically, what about other senses, yes? Why the best businesses in the world not always are run by the smartest people or invented? Because they are these other senses. And AI is out of it so far, and I don't think based on the track record, they will be into it. So I think there's absolutely no reason for pessimism, and I think we will see the evolution of AI like internet. I mean, it will be more and more used, more and more tailored to particular needs, to practical needs. But, you know, people will use it like internet. Some will, some won't, some will use it for gaming, yes, or for fun mostly. I think this is where it will end at the end, yes. But I do believe in banking sector, financial sector, not only, there is a huge potential in the next few years to optimize simple processes and to increase their efficiency, effectiveness. Thank you.
That's the 9 to 15% increase of profitability. No, but the second question is for Milan and Ingo. It's when we say AI, the first thing that comes into people's minds is ChatGPT, and similar things which are mostly refer to digital content. Milan, since you use AI in development of software, we all use. Can you explain how it works? And Ingo, can you tell us, as you introduced already, some, let's say, specific concrete examples of how this will benefit to the overall the banking sector?
Thank you. I see that history is very popular today. Even if we are talking about the AI, I was thinking what to say from the history perspective, and maybe the best one is 10 years ago when I visited pretty famous professor of mine, Vladan Devejic, and asked, "Professor, can we start doing something around AI?" He said, "Look, kid, I did everything which should be done 1978. Okay, he was right, obviously. In order to explain you how the ChatGPT works and what the AI is, and to give context to this discussion, how it could benefit to the finance sector, and which amount of money you mentioned before, which is relative still, we can maybe extract out of it. Well, generally speaking, technology behind exists for a while, and it's literally speaking basic neural network behind, and ChatGPT is nothing else than one very smart virtual assistant, but it's not smart because new math is invented, it's because resources became more developed, and today growing capacity of hardware brought us to the point that we can really utilize a large amount of data. And ChatGPT is literally speaking generative chatbot, which is created on the GPT 3.5 model, which is again nothing else than pre-trained neural network for generating text out of content which is pre-trained before. And today, I think that more important topic is how the finance sector can utilize this kind of the technology, because I do not see that so many companies from the Philippines to United States, where I have some insights, have some core processes really covered with this kind of the technology. It's still supplementing technology. It's still some technology which is, I would say, nice to have. I think main outcome of this kind of discussion is how can we utilize this technology and put it in support core processes, not just to have supplementary tools.
My headline answer is very short. We will be able to do way more for clients, way more. We have started an approach of transparency, for instance, with rating advisory. So we inform clients also online what the rating is, what the main drivers are. But there's a lot of additional information that we want to provide that is perceived as spamming. And all of you that are active online will have realized that if you get a lot of messages you feel spammed, you click away. You don't want to have that. I think with the technology that is now ante portas, which I think will deliver a very significant change, things will be made way more relevant, way more personalized. So that is only one aspect. The other one is that we will be able to operate way more efficiently if we use that technology properly. I fully agree with you. We are only at the beginning. We don't even grasp yet what will be possible. And this is why I spoke earlier about the cultural change that is necessary. We'll have very open eyes and minds as to what will be possible, not forgetting about the risks, obviously. Yeah? But here the regulator anyway, they will make sure that none of the risks is forgotten.
Thank you. And now, for Petar and Darko, what do you think, now hearing all of this, is AI in banking a myth or reality? Is it sustainable, or it's just, let's say, something that's going to be passing by? This is my question to the two of you.
I'll also go a little bit into the history by the near one, explaining what was the hype and why AI is not. Just a couple of years ago, we had a metaverse banking. So many people talk about it on conferences. banks all around the world were investing millions and millions to open the branches in the metaverse. This was just a couple of years ago. It was a huge hype. Today, nobody's talking about it. Nobody. You cannot hear it at all. On the contrary, AI, I don't think so. It's a hype, but I think there is a myth related to that, and the myth is called valuable use cases which are making a game change and a big difference. I still think that we don't have it yet, but I'm not saying this will stay forever. Definitely it's a process. Things will evolve. But today, when you look the most popular usage of AI through ChatGPT, as Milan was explaining, it was a very nice explanation. I have my own. So imagine ChatGPT as somebody who read and memorized one big book, and that book is called Internet. But if you want to get from the internet something which is sophisticated, something which is science-based, something which is tailor-made, good luck with that. You're gonna end up nowhere. So this is the reason why I think that implementing ChatGPT and similar AI tools into the banking, it's not impossible, but it will not be easy. It will take time, it will take resources. First, we need to educate models about our way how we speak, about how we behave. And after that, I mean, we need to find a way how to integrate it with our existing systems in order to provide appropriate answers to the queries we are getting from the customers. There's a one use case which I particularly think will make the change, and it's linked to the personalization. So AI is bringing the possibility to really make personalized, tailor-based, contextual offers to the clients. And this is a big change. And this is something which we didn't have so far on a proper way. And this power of AI will probably be the best use case I'm seeing it's coming in next couple of years.
Okay, I see here everyone likes history. So let me then quote what Victor Hugo said, that there is nothing more powerful than an invention whose time has come. And I doubt that he had that in mind 150 years ago, that he had in mind AI, but certainly the time of AI has come. The hype, it is, everyone is talking about that. Just look at the agenda of this forum and how many times AI is mentioned. But not only that, I think look at the market. S&P 500, last year performance, 493 companies, basically more or less flattish, and 7 magnificent big techs are fueling entire growth of the world. So what is the implicit message of the market? So market believes that those companies will be the one who will be able to capture majority of the benefits of AI and to influence, okay, not only technology, but all the other industry. But you also mentioned a myth, so coming to finance and banking. So with all those talks, I think there is obviously also some myths, and I would say that that myth is certainly that in certain industries, and banking is one of them, that if you successfully implement AI across the entire organization, from front office, middle office, to the back end, you will be an ultimate winner, which I believe is not the case, because as I said, banking, as some of other industry, are pretty much different. And banking is now facing more questions and more challenges than ever. And despite the best year that the banking in the world had last year in the past 15 years, if you again back to the market and look the evaluation of the banking, it's still below the book value. So again, the market is looking forward and saying that the existing business model of banks is probably not going to produce the return which is over cost of equity. And challenges are numerous, from the macroeconomics uncertainties, from the high operational costs of running the business, from the not yet completed digitalization of banking, the overregulation, the very high capital requirement, entrance of the neobanks, entrance of the tech companies into the financial market. So it's really a question how to respond to all those questions. And obviously, market believes that the bank in a current shape are not able to answer those questions. We'll see whether market is wrong, which is, let's say, sometimes also the case. And the another myth is let's say, that you can look at the implementation of AI across the different industries in the same way. So one thing is to implement AI in some, I don't know, social network of cats and dogs. And the another thing is to do it in the financial industry, which is very strict, very regulator, or you don't need to invent these social networks. Just look what happened with the Google and Gemini and the problem which they created. But again, the Google was somehow able to get out of it. I doubt that any bank would be able to get out of the problem if they would have been faced a similar problem.
Thank you very much. You're absolutely right. I mean, it is a question how fast this technology is going to be able to be implemented, and we're going to be able to, let's say, use it and utilize it to bring to this, let's say, increased profitability, because it's still in the, let's say, it's still in the early stages, and we still don't know how fast this will be able to do it. I think, I mean, from the tech industry, probably you're saying it's much faster. I mean, we saw very rapid development of this technology, and okay, yes, it started 60, 70, 80 years ago, but as you said, with all the hardware and everything that we have now, and the capacity that we can use this technology, it's being developed. And actually, because of the speed of this technology, I have a question for Bartek and for Ingo. We've seen what globalization did to manufacturing and lowering the costs. Is AI going to increase really this productivity, coming to this, my previous question? And I don't know, maybe you can also add on, how far away are we from this, let's say, technology to increase this productivity and, let's say, decrease the cost in the banking industry? So, Darko, we can go above book value.
So you asked us to disagree, but let me start with agreeing with Peter. I think ChatGPT is doing a very good job in showing us certain use cases where we can really use AI. You know, I used to search online a lot. Now I'm asking ChatGPT, and I'm getting very precise answers. Simply, I need to make sure this is correct. So we were talking about the history. Let's now move to the future. That's a very tricky question, not very easy to answer. Look, I love cycling. I don't have much time to do it, but whenever I do it, some people may say it's not safe. I'm trying to listen books. Since I didn't know a lot about AI, that was the subject I really selected for a while. And one of the writers is Kai-Fu Lee, who is treating this. He's from Taiwan. He's educated in US. He's in business and technology. And, you know, if you read his books, for example, AI 2041, you would see that already today, in US and in China, between 40 to 60% of jobs could be eliminated because of AI. Is it not scary? It is scary. When I was cycling and I was getting to this conclusion, I was, oh my God, could be an accident. But then think about it in details. And by the way, he's also treating it. So you can nicely read it and understand a lot of justification. So can you fly? Can the plane fly in a law today? Self-flying plane. How many people? Yes, it can. So technology allows to do it. How many people would like to fly the plane without the pilot? Really, nobody? I agree, I wouldn't. I wouldn't like. So, technically possible, but apparently there is no human adoption. Adoption is the first thing. Second thing is technology stack. So, we know all in banking the challenger banks. I remember 10, 15 years ago discussions about will challenger banks eliminate traditional banking. They challenged us, however, they did not eliminate, but they brought a lot of very useful use cases. Some of them were also linked with the fact they were leapfrogging certain technology aspects. So they didn't have a technology stack, which was complicated to upgrade. They could simply jump into quite modern technology, offering certain things, and then the whole market had to somehow follow to compete heavily. So the learning here is probably it's worth to be in the train faster, but of course there is a lot of technology aspects which we need to work to make sure that we can implement all of these use cases, which we can even imagine today. So human adoption, technology stack, and the third aspect, which is, I think, the biggest, it's regulatory aspects. So even though you were all saying you want to fly the plane, we know it can fly alone. By the way, it's very frequently taking off by the automated pilot. Majority of overseas flights are done like this, but it's not regulated. So whenever something wrong is happening, machine is switching off immediately and human is taking over. So it will take very long to also have a regulatory frame to allow all of these novelties and technology to get into force. So I think quite early stage again, you know, even though technically possible, human adoption, regulations, technology stack, everything is important to go the future, to future.
Well, I'm less obsessed with the past, actually. I'm more obsessed with the future. But I'm relieved that even fintechs now speak of legacy IT. Yeah, this gives a certain sigh of relief, whoever is a more traditional banker here. I think, back to the question of whether we will be more cost efficient, I think this was the core of it. And linking to your argument on trading below book value. It's true that the European Banking Index is trading below book value. But I think there will be a bifurcation towards those banks that, as I said earlier, can master technology and those that can't. Whatever can go on screen will go on screen. And that means the banks will have to invest a lot. Not all the banks can afford. Some of the banks try to compensate with just shoveling in volume, yeah? Making sure you get deposits, you grant loans, playing a volume game. I think that the sophisticated banking approach of the future will be to have a very broad service spectrum with a very strong technology base, a very strong one. And that means we will have to invest very significant amounts of money, which means early on the cost-income ratios will go up rather. Over the long run, if that works well, they have to come down massively, massively. Because the amount, the number of clients that you will have per banker will just be much, much higher, right? And hence I also think that we will see more consolidation in the banking sector given the effects I've described. Yeah.
Thank you. And Bartek opened up a question which I think the audience is very interested in. What, and this for anybody who can pick, I have my viewpoint on this. We discussed this a bit yesterday. How many jobs are going to be lost in the financial industry? Because, or in any industry? I think, you know, the audience is very interested in this. Are they going to have a job tomorrow or not? Anybody, please.
Let me try. I'm not from the banking industry, but maybe I can share some experience from the other countries as well. So also question for my colleagues is, are you firing or you're hiring? I see that you are hiring at the moment, almost all. That means that AI will not jeopardize crucial positions, crucial core processes. AI will eventually optimize and maybe obtain some processes. On the other hand, how in finance industry, same in the others. A lackage of quality staff is very obvious. And at the moment, we have various use cases where to apply and how to implement, because we have to divide two streams. Creating technology is one stream, applying technology is something completely different. In the other labs, we are creating, improving new models regularly, quarterly based. Implementing is a matter of year or years. So even here, we are talking about the AI, which is something like a magic, which will jeopardize some position, will not actually. From the healthcare industry, finance industry, education, under the huge hype at the moment, AI will take a role of replacing some missing actually positions. Before we start firing people in order to really optimize internal cost because of something. I still think that human is a crucial part of the whole ecosystem, whole process. And even in the most complex tasks we are giving to AI to decide. At some points, we always have human approval to do that. Even if we create, Peter told that for the sentence, hyper-personalized message, automatically created content for any person, it does exist. But before we allow to AI to execute that strategy, we have somebody who is really subject matter expert to approve it.
Maybe just to comment on that, I think generally bankers are safe on a midterm. Maybe some position in a call center, in operations when we're expecting the amortization will be replaced. But I think that question has to be followed by the question, how many new job position opportunities AI is creating. But this is not coming on its own. What people need to do, and employees of financial institutions, is actually to embrace the change, to embrace the new technologies. It's very interesting what the government of Singapore did a couple of weeks ago. They made decision to offer free of charge new university education for all people who are 40 years and above, saying that here is the AI, here is the new era coming, you need to embrace it, but the skill set that you learned 20 years ago in your university doesn't work out anymore. So you have to embrace it and you have to be educated. And if you do that, then you will be able to apply for this position. If I'm in other industries, I will be probably worried. I'm more impressed what Sora is doing from OpenAI company than ChatGPT, to be honest. So for those who are not aware of it, please go Google it and check it out. It's a text to video AI model. And what Sora is doing, I think it's a huge threat to creative industry. So if I'm in the creative industry, I'll be worried.
Darko, please.
So Petar said bankers are safe. I would say banks are safe. So supervise, so sit, relax. Whether bankers are safe, I don't know. We'll see that. But I would agree with what Inga said, that I think that size will matter more than ever before, because coming to Milan was saying implementation is here crucial, and don't fall into the trap of IT companies who are saying, we'll do it in 3 months, we have a plug-and-play solution. It simply doesn't work like that. Yes, you can go for some simple use cases, but if you want to embrace the AI throughout your organization, it's much more complex than just that. First of all, you need to have readiness within the company. You need to have data governance, you need to have adequate technology, you need to have culture, and at the end, why I said the size matters is that also you need to have resources. So it's, let's say, easy to speak about it, but just to bring you to the shoes of, let's say, our local board some months ago when deciding about the budget for 24 and speaking about the project portfolio. So you have, obviously, as everyone does, so limited capex, limited resources of all your partners, whatever they say, but they are also pretty much limited. And your capacity is to do, I don't know, let's say 20 projects. Out of those 20 projects, 14 of them are regulatory projects, which are coming either through ECB, to the local bank, etc. So no discussion about it. okay, your heart would like to go there, but this is something must be done. And then for the rest, you are also in the middle of different processes for digitalization, so you need to complete that, and then you need to find the resources to enter into the completely new territory, because you know that this is certainly the future. In our case, we are, let's say, fortunate enough to be part of the large group that has embraced this technology, that is doing it, helping us, and that is why I said that I believe that size will matter.
I fully share that view. I'm a traditional corporate banker. When I was much younger, we had very intense discussions on credit. Yeah? Really, whether to loan, which amount. Those discussions have become not only far more constructive, but there's far less dispute in the overall lending business. The most intense fights you have about the investment budgets, right? And then oddly, at some cases about KYC issues as well with risk management. But the investment budgets count. And you have all the areas trying to capture as much as possible of that very, very important part of the budget. And hence, the ability to mobilize and then to execute is key. We've seen a lot of money being thrown at a lot of projects, but the ability then to execute, to put something really into work so that something arrives at the client, this is decisive. And here the abilities of the banks and also within the banks are vastly different, in my experience.
No, I mean, I follow up on this discussion. I have two basic questions. I mean, we've been using credit models and different kind of models for years now. It's nothing new. Even in trading, I have a capital markets background as well. We were using black boxes 20, 25 years ago. What happens when there is a disruption in the market? What happens when there is something? I mean, how is AI going to? Is it good? Do we have to have a kill switch for it? I mean, Darko mentioned Gemini, and we also saw with Microsoft 2016, et cetera, et cetera. What happens when there's this disruption of the market? Is it going to be fast enough to self-learn to even it out? This is,
A very quick one, not to preempt the colleagues. You need circuit breakers. Yeah, it's very simple. You need circuit breakers, which you already have now. So you would never let a downward trend or whatever go on forever. But what we find is there is, speaking on capital markets, there's far less liquidity providers in the market now, because there's less capital allocated to the markets areas. But you just need those circuit breakers and then somebody to look.
No, and following up on maybe for Peter and Darko as well, but you mentioned the resources. Regionally, because we're working, let's say, in fragmented, smaller markets, are we going to be ready, or are we going to have the economies of scale to implement all of this? Okay, maybe it's easier for you, Darko, because you're coming from a bigger group, but are we going to have, let's say, the economies of scale in such small markets? And it's not and this is not a matter just for the finance industry. I think it's for all industries across. Please, I mean, it's a discussion. So.
Maybe just to give one important sentence from the perspective of economy of scale. Working here in this environment, working in some other countries around, working in Central Europe or Middle East is completely different game. For the sentence, just to refer on something, if we want to start huge transformational project, applying machine learning or any kind of the advanced technology, usually some zero step would be consulting, creating strategy, creating some book. That book here in Serbia is completely different than book in Qatar or UAE. For the sentence, already mentioned use case of advising customers how to save for the sentence. It's very common, very famous use case here when we are talking about it. Once I mentioned that to one UAE bank and they told full stop here, the name of the game is not monitor spending, it's the narrow spending and spending increasement. So economy of scale is completely different. Talking also about the finance companies, which have huge ecosystem around. I do not see that ecosystem here for the sentence just very few banks have ecosystem around where they are boosting whole ecosystem with their economy and creating economy of scale. Dominantly, it's just individual initiatives.
I would say, you know, two maybe not controversial, but contradictory points on this one, on the resources and capacity of the region to tackle the challenge, yes? On one side, from the technology provision and programming or designing things, you know, everybody knows we globally become super international. You know, the thing I observe, you heard we are present in 24 countries now, but it's cheaper sometimes to obtain a programmer in Portugal than in Serbia today. I mean, this is what changed over the last 10 years dramatically, yes? So we are seeing shifts on the market which are game-changing, yes? Labor market overall, yes? On the other hand, what I see in the region, not only Serbia, is, of course, you're right, these markets are small, and especially taking global perspective. European countries are small, taking global perspective, if you don't look at them as a union, yes? So the big challenge is how to think out of the box and think beyond the local market. On the other hand, the contradictory part is if you don't think locally, you're not successful. So I would agree here with predecessor that you also need local staff to talk on the practicality of implementation, what needs to be done to make it happen. Because if you talk to high flyers, we've seen many global projects implemented not only in AI, in other areas locally, which failed. I mean, failed. They were completed, but with a few-year delay and 3 times higher budgets, yes? Because of, you know, some great visions and lack of touchdown on reality and capacity to be practical, yes? And I think this applies to AI, yes? With AI, it's key about data governance, data quality, and what can be achieved today and now. And another controversy, I would say, is big and small. I do agree big institutions have the capacity to invest more, but they are always much less efficient in this investment. So if they don't tackle the global economy of scale, which covers this inefficiency, they sometimes are less effective than smaller, down-to-earth institutions. Not too small cannot afford, but there is this challenge which will not be finalized between mid-size, bigger, and huge on effectiveness and lack of effectiveness. So I wouldn't be pessimistic or optimistic in either of the cases.
So let me try talking through the, let's say, global technology perspective, because we did see a very high adoption of a couple of payments technologies very early here. Let me name some of them. Chip, EMV, these markets were definitely in the top league of implementation. Then contactless, also very early adoption. With mobile, MDES, I think a little bit later also, probably because of fragmentation and some other technology providers needed to actually decide about certain mobile technologies being available for these markets. But there is one amazing element of smaller markets and very competitive markets is actually a competition. So there is nothing better to inspire the change than competition, because everybody wants to jump into the train fast to compete with others. Indeed, on the other hand, when we talk about the evolution to the next level of technology, I think everybody knows it costs more and more. So the tech investments are higher and higher everywhere. And I think it's a tougher and more complicated battle for, again, everyone. So I think there are 2 ways of tackling it. I see some markets which are taking a kind of market-wide initiatives to consolidate, to move to the certain level of technology. I don't know, for example, cloud, which requires some regulations and then obviously some framework. Maybe even PSD2 could be the example of that with open banking. Or the other angle could be partnership. So you can find, I don't want to name MasterCard here, you know, because you will treat me as salesman, but of course it can be MasterCard. Which are definitely willing to bring technology and partner to be maybe the first in the region.
No, but thank you.
Partnership, if I may add,
please,
this is
okay.
really my passion, and I believe this is quite important milestone also for a local banks, because so far I think we can be, also speaking about ourselves, we can be satisfied with the speed of digitalization. So I can say basically that basically all primary retail customers are already digitalized, that all the payments are almost 100% are on mobile. Basically, in terms of payment, cash has disappeared over the counter. In terms of the end-to-end sales, already also penetration is double digit. It's growing, so we see that in the years to come also. I mean, I believe that also after implementing this digital cloud certificate in our app, I think in 2 years from now, our retail customers will be in position to do everything through mobile that he or she is able to do in a branch, maybe except advisory on asset management, which is completely differently even regulated. But then the question is, when you come to that crossroad, what happens after that? Because also rest of the market will be also already there or will catch up. And to come back to partnership, I think this is that next step, regardless of AI, for the banks to enter into the lives of our clients, regardless of their, let's say, just financial lives. Because if we do not enter in that way, those 7 big techs and the others will use us to enter their lives. As the example, so all of us are using Apple Pay, and this is a very good example. I don't know for those who are outside of the payment and banking industry, but for each and every payment, the banks are paying to Apple for that. So portion of that fee goes to Apple. So it's our customer, it's our card, it's our account, very often it's our merchant, but they made it somehow necessary for us to offer to clients that we need to offer that, although we are paying portion of that fee to them. So it will happen one way or another. I hope that's the one way.
One thing that came just across my mind, and Bartek opened this, and I would like to ask the IT gentleman. I read recently an article about education by Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, about what skill sets are going to be needed in the future. And he said in this article that children don't need to learn coding, because you're going to be able to say what you want to the model, and it's going to code by itself. Are we going to be able to divorce you guys?
I read one extremely interesting article yesterday, literally, where generative AI created a quant computing algorithm which humans are trying to create last 2 years. In order to create that quant computing algorithm, were enough only 2 prompts, 2 steps. I will share later on. It's very interesting. That means that generative AI has some unique skills. When talking about coding, regularly in our daily tasks, we are using AI for solving some, let me say, simple tasks. When we are going to create some new value, create new architecture and that kind of stuff, of course, that's more conceptual knowledge than coding knowledge, and I fully agree there. On the other hand, I'm the old school guy when we come to education, and I really support not that focused way of educating people. I always support educating people a little bit wider in order to give them huge context and huge horizon, and then let them decide how to. Because if we educate people only for one skill, they will not be able to create. They will be able to solve some task. Task will be solved by AI, but create something, it's something up to us, up to humans. And then when we are talking about the future, of course, education is base layer of the future. We cannot predict the future. We have to create future. We have to invent future. So there is no magic glasses, and you can take a look what will happen next year or in next 2 years, then bet on that. No, we have to invent and create our future. Education is base layer, and that is my point of view.
Quickly, I would agree that we are going to see big shifts in the IT industry, yes? And there will be huge pressure. I would even tend to say bigger than in banking, yes? It will start from the basic services and functions like testing or simple coding, and it will just advance over time. As one of you have said here, still the models are not that sophisticated, so they tend to give us ridiculous answers, yes? I made once a joke and I said, can you expand on my family history, some history behind? And I got the most fantastic, maybe not science fiction, but fiction story about what my predecessors have done. It looked smart, but it was complete bollocks, yes? And, you know, if somebody wouldn't know it, they would buy into it, chip into it, and it would be detached from reality. So I think this type of quality will improve, yes. The control over this will improve. The pressure on the IT will increase. Where is the safety exit for us in IT, or I think overall? If you look at economies, we spoke about employment, yes. The more advanced economies in the world, the smaller unemployment they have. But they have the higher adoption of technology. So actually, the adoption of technology is creating the need for more job places. Of course, it's about flexibility of the labor market and adoption. In the IT, I think it will be about connecting the gap between technology and business and human interaction and the real need. And this is where the biggest gap today is. Yes, because these guys who are consultants are detached from technology and they don't take risk for their decisions and advisory. The guys who are pure technology companies, they also don't take much responsibility for the outcome of the solution. They just sell technology and say, you do it, you use it. And this gap is the biggest gap I see today that should be covered and will require a new type of education. With the education where we have the gap, something we all know here, yes? Lack of flexibility, lack of open-mindedness, lack of out-of-the-box thinking. You know, we are structured and constructed as an algorithm in our educational system. And I think this lack of ability to be flexible in our way of thinking is the biggest challenge for the future.
Thank you. I mean, the four of us are most interested when our bill is going to drop. No, before we go to questions, because we're towards the end, and I think it was a very interesting conversation, I would just like to touch customers. I mean, basically from the business perspective of customers, Darko mentioned that 90+% in Serbia, our payments are digital, in retail. My opinion is that adoption is going to be much easier for these new technologies now than it was, let's say, going from branch to digital to the phone. I don't know, what's your perspective, and how do you see the customers reacting to all of this, and let's say the spam that you have mentioned, and the ability to let's say, personalize, because I think we're going in a world where personalization matters, and everything is going to be more and more personalized. I don't know, just a short wrap up in this, I mean, please touch on this subject.
Okay, maybe I can start with a view. I think it's a very important point that, you know, we talk a lot about technology, about ourselves, about companies, banks, but at least we didn't forget the customers. Yeah, we heard for the end. I think the banks are very often going beyond what customer real needs is, and how customers will like to solve certain pain points. And we go into the trap that actually we start to copy each other. And also tech companies are helping us in that. So they're telling us, you know, Intesa, develop it, Raiffeisen, implement it. It's a sure good thing, you have to do it as well. So we rush, we implement it as well, actually without asking customers to really need it. And what do we end up with? We end up with, and this is related to complete digital transformation, not only the AI aspect. We end up with having quite good solutions, plenty of digital solutions, but hardly used by customers. So I think for the banks today, it's not a challenge to transform. Darko was explaining, and I agree with that. I mean, transformation already hit a quite high level. It's a more not to add to the pile with a new technology. It's more, I think, to use more of what we already have. And then we talk about different things. We talk about, you know, digital marketing, that skill set. We talk about how to educate customers, etc., but not more on the development side.
So let me, if I can, I prepared that, you know, I was thinking, and I agree with you, everything starts with customers. What do you expect? What do we expect from ourselves? So I can read it because I prepared thinking about it. I see 4 or 5 trends, and the first one is digital first. So it is about onboarding, it's about a full end-to-end digital process, and I think we are advanced, but still going that way. Simplicity, like you said. Whatever we create must be used, must be simple. Then personalization, no doubt, big trend. I think something maybe controversial, integration with non-banking services. I think there are more and more financial institutions trying to get out of the financial space, trying to offer mostly transaction-related services. And then I think sustainable, responsible, absolutely mandatory. So, sorry, I just wanted to show my homework.
Please, thank you.
I have a very simple and short response. The customers will tell us. With modern technology, we have way more touch points than before, right? You had a branch visit here or there. Our customers are using their platform almost daily. Yeah? So we get a lot of feedback, and we can use the interaction either implicitly or by explicitly asking. So we will just ask more, we get more feedback, and we'll have to iterate faster in adopting the technology solutions to satisfy as to what is expected.
Yeah, I mean, my concern about the whole thing is, you're right, it was one of the questions I prepared, but we didn't touch it. We're sitting on a lot of data, but are we as bankers able to process it? Are we able to really understand? We have a daily interaction with customers, we understand, and then when Peter says, we develop a lot of technology and nobody uses it, I mean, and these guys push us into it, you know, they try to.
I have here one comment from our observation so far with the customers. The customer intends to achieve something with the data, but the data is messy. The data quality, the data governance is not properly structured. And usually 80% of the investment is required there, only 20% goes into the actual usage.
Okay, just also one comment related to that. Darko inspired me when he told that they are working 14 out of 20 projects which are regulatory. So it's a significant gap between tasks you are solving those days and what we are talking here that we would love to have. We have non-applied technology in our lab as well. Trust me. Okay, data structuring, data quality, culture of collecting is growing. Okay, it's increasing trend. But literally speaking, when we talk about some messy processes and we are struggling to resolve it, basic thing is to avoid rewriting how to say, bad processes in a new technology. So we are trying to automate something with AI, but we are rewriting bad habits, trying to resolve it somehow. Sometimes we have really to step back few steps, and if we want to really digitalize something, if we want to apply advanced technology somewhere, we have to really restructure processes. We have to really resolve some bad habits and bad practice, not to rewrite it in the new technology. If we try to rewrite it, we will struggle with the project, and 80 or even 90% of our effort during the project will go on structuring data and that kind of stuff.
Darko, just a quick wrap up and let's go for a few questions.
Sure, yeah. We all started with history. Why not to end up with the future, not distant from here, to spice up a little bit about the customers. So all of us, when talking about AI, we are all talking about how to extract actually more value. So this personalization, pricing tools, so everything is made in order to sell more and to earn more. But very soon, the customers will also be using AI when coming to our businesses. So don't underestimate the possibility that in a few years from now, customers will be advised by the non-human advisors who will tell them, okay, if you I don't know, capture this opportunity with another bank, you can be better off this much. And probably the answer would be, okay, if I don't want to now change the bank, is the process. But in the era of open banking, now in probably some years from now, that would be autonomous decision of some advisor who would say, I will do it instead of you. So there will be no C2B, but it will be even machine to machine decision made.
Guys, thank you very much. We have time for a few quick questions from the audience, if there's any questions. That's saying there's no question, but that's just a couple of questions. Come on. It's not our fault. Yes, we have a question. Imam pitanje ovdje.
Poštovanje, Đorđe Ivanović, ako nema neko drugi da pita. Znači, pošto je ovo vezano za neke novosti iz financija, prosto žele...
Možete na engleskom, samo pošto nemaju slušalice za prevod.
Okay, about new financing models. Are you having some crypto wallet or some crypto in your pocket? This is my question. Because
Do we personally have it or not?
Do you have? Who have crypto?
No.
If it is personal question, because nobody talking about some market that is very emerging and. Okay, it is financing. Okay.
We can have a quick answer. Ingo,
Okay.
do you want to touch it, or somebody?
Well, very quickly. I don't have crypto in my pocket now. I think we learned a lot about it. We don't issue any formal investment advice on crypto because we see it as highly speculative. It is still open to see where the technology leads us. Has very little to do actually with what we discuss here on AI, but so far we have taken a very reserved attitude towards investment in crypto assets. Okay?
We have no more time. Gentlemen, thank you very much. It was a pleasure, and I think we had a very interesting discussion. We're going on.